G'day and welcome to episode 11 of DJF Live on this channel. Today I want to look at Supersource within Companion, just to go through some of the things you can find available in the profile that I've built, but also to teach you how to do it yourself. So if you want to make use of what's there for free with the open source software, that you can create some Supersource presets, because one of the great things about the ATEM is there's so much power in it and it can do so many different layouts. Particularly I'm talking about the ATEM Mini Extreme and the Extreme ISO in this instance. But you really need some way to recall a bunch of layouts. Otherwise, you're going to be spending your live stream trying to check boxes and that kind of stuff. So you really need to do that ahead of time, and you can do that using Companion. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. So if you have any questions as we go along, drop them in the chat and we can answer them on today's show. So, all right. So what are we looking at here? We have, I'm just going to go in my chat here. There we go. So within the Companion software, actually I'm just going to pull this one up. Let's go for that. And then I'll get rid of this is my Supersource layout. Okay, so this is my presentation layout that I'm going to use today so I can show you the what we've got going on. What I have on, let me just get rid of some things here. So I've got a 3 box here. So I've got my camera 1 is here. I got camera 2 is down here to show you what I've got. And then I've got a desktop view, which is what we're looking at for most of the screen. And the composite of this shot is built using a Supersource layout within Companion, so you don't have to attach any other things to it. And alongside that, as you probably saw as I was hitting a button, you can program anything else within Companion. So with one button press, you can not just set the layout of the Supersource, but you could automate camera moves or change audio channels or that kind of stuff. So this is the layout that I have, which I quite like for teaching, because it gives kind of like a headshot and gives my close-up of what's happening in real life on the Stream Deck. And then also on the computer, we can see what's going on there. So within my profile here, if you have this one, what we're looking at is page 1, got custom pages, a menu page, and then I got a whole bunch of like key pages for key 1. And then once you get up to page 12, then we start getting into all of the Supersource inputs. So we've got input 1, 2, 3, 4, the background. And then we've got 3 pages, which is a preset page, which I'll go into in a sec here. And then there's 3 pages that you can store presets in. So this comes with these layouts in it. And then you can quite easily drag in your own if you want to use something like Mix Effect to do that in combination with it. And then there's also a blank page where you can just create and store your own so that you've got some that are easy to recall. So what you'll see on the Stream Deck button here is under Supersource. It brings us up to this preset page, and I can cycle through. So I got 1, 2, 3 in terms of presets that I want to quickly call up. And then I can hit the input button to then call up any of my inputs for 1, 2, 3, 4, and the background. All right, and then if you hit back, you'll go back to this preset page. And then if you hit X, you'll get back to the main menu. So that's kind of the layout of how I have designed my Supersource. So maybe there's something to think about if you want to have a similar sort of workflow in what you're doing, because I found that to be kind of a logical stepping into it. All right, so within the menu, this is where I'm going to go through and have a lot of the power of just being able to step straight into presets, so I'm not having to fiddle with everything all the time. So I've got some singles. It's going to get rid of all of these, so I'm going through these inputs, 3 input, 4, I don't have anything in 3. And then I'll just step through all of these different inputs here. So I've got like a 2-up. These are all like the 2-ups that I've got. And then you can have like a sort of 3-up. And along the bottom, there's a couple of blank inputs in there. And there's a 3-up. That's sort of like a box cut on my camera 1 shot, and then 2 other full screen shots. 3-up, I don't have anything in there at the moment. And then what do we got down here? I just did that one. This is my presentation view that I had. And then we've got another sort of like web presentation mode. One where you might want to have like 4 guests along the bottom, and then that black space up there is actually a PowerPoint type space. You could have a 4-up or a 4-up with boxes, and 4 on that one, and then a 4 grid. So I'm going to go back to this layout here. So that's kind of, with a touch of a button, that's where you can recall these things, and you don't have to go into the ATEM software and fiddle around with that. If we go into the input button, what you'll see is any of these things that are highlighted are showing me what boxes are active. So I can see that I'm using box 1, 2, and 4, but I'm actually at the moment on page 1. So if I change the input, that's where camera 1's input would be changed like that. So it's kind of like a switching panel. Camera 2, likewise, we can just change that. I don't have anything in there. I think I've got my pie on the green screen. And put that back onto 2. 3 is off at the moment. So if I long press, it's actually going to turn it on, and that's the last position that it was turned on at. So that's how I'm turning these on and off, is just a long press on that. It makes it very easy. Number 4, again, if we turn this off and turn this on, that's how we're turning that on and off, and I can change the background there. And then there's also the background. And so if I wanted to, I don't quite have the, if I turned off that one, for example, went to the background and put on camera 1, so now my background is camera 1 as well. But I could also hold down black and make it let's make it like a nice, no, I think I've got gray in there. I could put color bars in just so you can see through it. I'm gonna make it white. All right, so I've just released that. So on my profile, like all of these things are, it goes black, color 1, color 2, color bars. So if you keep holding it down, it'll cycle through them. All right, so back to 4, and I want to turn this on. All right, so that's my layout. So I can very quickly turn boxes on and off, but I can also rearrange them. So if I wanted to make this box smaller, I could actually make this smaller like that, move it bigger. I can move it across, holding down like this. So I could place that somewhere, and then I can actually crop the top. Maybe I want to bring that in. Got to stay centered in here, and I'm going to go crop the right side. We could bring that in. Left side, we could bring that in. Bottom, bring this up. Hang on, wrong button. Bring the bottom up. I'm very, very boxed in now, and I could place that somewhere wherever I want to do for that. So that's all the sort of manual control that you can have within Companion. I've just taken the time to program all of that layout so that it's a graphical button pressing rather than doing all of the commands and building it out that way. There's also, just because of the nature of it, the way I had to do the background button is, actually let's just move this one up because it's kind of in the way. Background, where are we? So if we press and hold the background, it'll move it to the foreground. So we got MP1 there, or black will move it to the foreground, or just hit it and it would go back to the background. But my 1, 2, yeah. So my camera 4 is, box 4 is full screen at the moment. All right, so, or if I want to, let's go back to 1, I can actually hit reset and it's going to make it back full screen, so I could start over. If I'm, have a presenter and I, like maybe you want to find wherever they are in the frame, like maybe I'm here and you want to bring that into there and bring that one back there and just sort of slide it over to the side, that kind of thing. So you can very easily custom build this on the go using this sort of graphical pad. And then of course, if you mess it up, you can hit the button and you are back to the layout. So now I want to take you into like how I actually, what's behind these buttons, because they are kind of the universal base plate of designs that you can alter yourself. So all of these buttons change the layout of the boxes. They don't actually change the source inputs. And I left it that way so that you could assign like boxes 1 and 2 to something, and then when you hit it, you're just sort of changing the layout of it rather than it sort of forcing it to a particular box. So that's something where you would put that in yourself in after the fact. All right, let's go back here. Okay, so I'm going to go to page 17. Let me just check in here. Oh, my mouse is getting stuck. All right, and this is where I've got all of these presets. I'm going to copy this one because that's the one that I like. I'm going to copy this to my blank page, and I'm just going to paste it in here. So you'll see that in there. I'm going to delete these other ones. And I probably need something just for reference so that we can see that something is changing. So maybe I'll get like a this quad in here. Go 2 pages forward. Okay, so now on my layout, if I hit that, I'm going to have the 4 box. And if I hit back like that, I'm going to be back to my layout. So that has, it's not changing my inputs. So this is where if you want to build something into those buttons, you can do so that, for example, if you have camera 1 and it's not actually routed into HDMI 1, then you could set it up so that it's going into HDMI 3, and your program in here recognizes that that is the program. All right, so let's take a little look, first of all, at what is going on inside of here. So we've got, I've just got a little graphic here. It's just a little 72 by 72 PNG. So that is just the image there that I've created in, as you've probably seen on previous episodes, in photop.com. It's kind of like a Photoshop ripoff. So that's a free website application. Since I did that episode, I did notice that it works best in Chrome. There's some things in Safari that don't work so well with the application. So make sure you use Chrome to use it. Otherwise, you might get a little stuck, as you saw me on that episode, where some functions weren't doing what I had intended. All right, so what we've got here is just the name. So I could call it presenter or whatever I want to call it. And then I've set in Supersource commands. So we've got ATEM, that's just the name of my module, which is this one. So if I go edit, I've just called my label ATEM because I've got a Pro ATEM in there as well. So I just wanted to differentiate between them. So this is Supersource set box enabled, and I've got box 1, and I've just repeated that for all of the ones that I want on air. So I've got box 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, 1 and 2 and 4 that are on air, and then you'll see here box 3 is off because it's not part of this particular layout. And then after that, I've got 4 Supersource change box properties commands. So that is box 1, 2, 3, 4 again. So starting with box 1, that's where you can set the size, the X, Y ratio, and then also if you want to enable the crop. So if you turn that on, you can crop the left or the right and top and the bottom, and that's where, as you saw before, that's how it finds those parameters and pushes them through. Same thing with box 2. So I've just got a smaller ratio. So let me go back up to here. So I'm basically running this shot at about 2/3 of 100%, 667. So if I go like, 0.5, then that's going to be making it 0.5. I'm going to hold down Shift to do a test. And you'll see that now this box is at 50% of its original size. So that's obviously not what I want. So there's a bit of playing around with this. I think it works within, I'm trying to remember now, I think it's like 16 is kind of your full length because you've got like 16 by 9. So you've got 16 on one side and 16 from the center. You've got 16 one way, 16 negative, and then you've got 9 up and 9 down. So if I set X to 0 and make sure I press the button, that's where I've got X on 0 and Y on 0. Press the button again, and I'm centered. So this shot is smack in the middle, and it's running at 67%. So that's where you've just got to do a little bit of trial and error unless you know the exact numbers. So I think I had 3 here, wasn't it? And just that, yeah, it's about there. And 11. And we're back there. So that's how I've gone through. And it's basically, it's a little time consuming. But once you've got it, that's where you've got this layout, and you can save that layout as the master layout that you want to then add camera angles to. So that's, and then down here I've cropped the left by 8. So if I did not crop the left, then it would look like this, and that's where it would go over. So again, I'm cropping the left by 8, and then it all brings it into line, and just, you know, what I've decided here, better sit up a bit, in terms of getting a head frame there, and I just want to like fill the screen with useful information so I don't have any dead space around me. Okay, so same concept with box 2. Is just smaller, and then I've set the X to be also on 11, and the Y has been set further down. All right, and then box 4 is, so you'll notice like box 3 is not actually in here because we switched it off at the beginning. So I'm not actually changing that at all. I'm not sending through any parameter change commands. And then box 4 is basically saying I want to be full size at 1, and then the X and the Y is centered. So that's where box 4 is basically full screen. And so if I go back up here, where are we? So if I wanted to change this layout so that I turned off, maybe I don't want the Stream Deck, so I could turn off that. So now I have a layout that looks a little bit like this. And you can see that I've obviously, it's just a desktop, and I've got my Chrome browser to be basically just in line with that. All right, I'm going to turn this one back on and press so it comes back in. So remember, layer 4 is on the bottom, and then you got 3, 2, 1. I'll bring my hands up. Layer 4, 3, 2, 1. So you're kind of like looking down, kind of like you would in an edit timeline, where what's on top, which is layer 1, is going to be visible, and then things under that are going to be visible if the upper layers are cropped, or if there's a chroma key or something like that on it. All right, so coming down here, box 4, and that's it. So now, what if we want to create a button so that we can always get back to this shot? So that if I've gone and changed my cameras, like for example, if I've got this one on a mid shot, I want to make sure that every time I hit this button, it's going to go to where, and it's going to bring up that sort of framing. All right, so I would normally, I've already done this, so it's probably irrelevant, but I would make a copy of this. And I've got my layout, so then I just need to go in and find the other things that I want to do. So I would start with Supersource. Okay, so we want to set box source. And I want to go box 1, and I want to make sure box 1 is PTZ1. Supersource, set box source, and I'm just going to do 2 more of these so that I can fill it out quickly. Box 2, I want to make sure that's PTZ2, which is a Stream Deck, and then box 4 is my Mac, so I want to do that. So that means if I go into my input and just say I mess this up, like I'm putting this one on that one, this one on that one, and this one to like a color or something. Gray. Okay, so now we're completely messed up. How would I pick something where you can actually see what I'm doing? And I go back here, and then I'm going to go to the one that I'm building, which is this button. So this will rearrange the inputs of the sources. So now I have this button that not only sets the layout, but it's setting the actual box inputs. I want to go a step further. I mean, not everyone has necessarily all the same equipment that I do, so you might have your own PTZ cameras or other things that you want to call up, like audio commands or that kind of stuff. In this instance, I have two PTZ cameras. I've got this mid shot to close shot, and I've got camera 2, which is coming down from above. So that's where I would go to my particular one, which is PTZ 1, and I want to go recall. So I might just type recall. So preset 1, I'm going to recall, and I want it to be, what did we set this to? I think that was, it's going to be a close up. So that's preset 3 on my thing. And then we're going to go recall, set recall, PTZ2, recall, and then preset number, I think it's 5, but how about we just choose something different? I'm going to go 3. Okay, so now when I hit this button, it's going to do that. And I'm going to find the cameras that I'm in. This was intentionally wrong. So the actual one that is going to pull up the one is preset 5 is just what's on my PTZ camera at the moment. I've got like a wide shot desk. Haven't labeled this properly, but the box is the stream deck, the 2 stream decks, and then R1 on input 5 is going to be the close-up of the stream deck. So I have changed that, and so now I'm going to go back to my, where was it, Supersource, and I'm going to hit that, and it's pulled it up. So that's where whatever you need to do, maybe you've got audio mixes or the ATEM audio or keys or that kind of stuff, whatever you need to do to get that shot on screen, that's where you would bring this in. So why don't we add in like ATEM set program input. So we're also going to put Supersource on air because we want to make sure this button is going to take us on air. And what else? Maybe we'll turn off, because I had a key 1 on before running around. So I think it's upstream key set on air. So I'm going to go turn off key 1. Because remember at the start of the show, I had this fella up in the little circle down the bottom. So maybe I want, if I'm doing that for, so I've got another command here. Where is it? Like this. So this is my one where I've got a desktop view and then I'm talking and I've built in this little like reframe to be a close up on that. But if I want to go to, back to Supersource, if I want to make sure that this box comes off when I press a button, then that's what I would need to build into it. So just sort of think through what are the other things that you're going to have going on. I mean, I have a, as you'll see here, key 4 is doing the comments and that kind of stuff running through a Raspberry Pi with H2R. So I want to make sure that I'm not turning that off. Otherwise, you will not be able to see the comments. Speaking of, let's jump over to the comments and see what we've got going on up here. All right. All right. Mark says, hello, with a single companion button, what's the easiest way to change the camera source in a particular box of Supersource variables and triggers? Yeah, I mean, I probably just showed you that in terms of what that is. If you needed to build in triggers, this is where you would, sorry, I'm not seeing that. Let me go to the Mac. Where is it? We're down here. This is, so buttons, and then you've got triggers over here. This is where you could build in a trigger so that if something happens at a particular time, you can automate that trigger over. But otherwise, like having a command button, I think here is a good way of doing that. So hopefully that last one just explained your question. Okay, Femi says, thank you for the instructional videos. I can get back to here. Where are we? Okay, let's come back to there. Thanks for all the instructional videos. You got the 32 for the ATEM Extreme. A few months ago, I later returned the device in exchange for the ATEM Mini Pro. The Extreme would not work with the ATEM Mini Pro. Is it possible to change the companion? Send me a message and let's chat about that and getting you set up. The Extreme will work with the Pro. There's like all of these things that you can do on the Extreme, you can do on the Pro. There's just things that you can do on the Extreme that you can't do on the Pro. I think I got that around the right way. But essentially, like one of the main things is Supersource, which I'm showing you, which is obviously not in the capability of the ATEM Mini Pro, but the keying features that I've built into this for key one, because there's only one keying flying key sort of function in what I've built, and part of the reason for that is there's only 100 macros in the ATEM, and it uses a lot of macros to be able to do the things that Companion cannot do. So that's where with the key one, you will be able to use the ATEM Mini Pro machine using the ATEM Mini Extreme Companion layout that I've built. I think that makes sense. But send me a message and we'll chat. Good morning, John. Good to have you here as always on the channel. I appreciate you showing up each week. Okay. Kevin says, when you use Stream Deck and your companion presets, do you have them all loaded on your Stream Deck? I seem like it would be easier just to load what you need for a particular show. I have, in what I've built, like they're all in there, and part of what you saw was at the beginning, I want to be able to cut and paste as we go. So that's where under, hopefully this is in the right spot. In my profile, I've got this home switcher page, which goes to the menu. And then the next button is a custom page, which is what I run a lot of this in terms of doing a pre-show, run, the Mac screen, all that kind of stuff. But then I have my show page, which has got a whole lot of random stuff in the moment, which I often wipe and delete. And this is the page that I would move things to. So you can see down here, I have a version of that. Let's see if that works. Yeah, it's put it into the preview. You can't see that. But if I cut across, that's where that button is actually, the way I've designed a copy of the button that I just showed you is putting it into preview rather than cutting it to program. So I definitely recommend, like, I mean, if you look at this, let me go back to this because there's a ton of stuff here. Get rid of that. So there is, I mean, there's a ton of stuff in this profile. I've been able to use up most of the, I don't know, 99 pages. And if there are 1,000, I would probably, use another 350 or something if I could. So I'm constantly trying to find ways to minimize stuff on a page and to get rid of stuff so that we can sort of fit more into here. But, we've got downstream key control, media player, your auxiliary out on the HDMIs, the multi-view type thing. So you can change like the different layouts and these are all using macros. The key inputs, where did it go? Audio, mix settings, and then Supersource and all the box insert in the boxes for the Supersource. So for example, you could jump to box 2 and that would bring you straight up to box 2. VLC, H2R, and then a settings page where you can sort of diagnose things and see what modules are active and turn things on and off if anything's playing up. Yeah, the question was, when I do a show, I have two particular things. So one is my custom page is kind of what I've built out for my weekly type thing, all of the pre-show in, and then the ones that are ending the show and all that kind of stuff. And so I've got some shortcuts that you've probably seen me build over the last couple of weeks as we go. And then when I do a job for a client, that's where I'd have this show page and I copy stuff to there because you are right in saying like there's way too much stuff to be able to jump through pages. I mean, the layout that I've built has only got 3 levels, really. It's kind of, this is your switcher page, it's a menu, and then you jump into a sub-menu like VLC, for example. Anytime you hit X, you go back to the main page so that you're always there ready to be switching, so that you're not getting lost in menus. Like your escape key, if you hit the X, is going to bring you back to a page where you can switch. So it's really designed around the switcher. And then if you need custom things for a show, that's where you would hit the show button and you would have all these things that show up here. So I do recommend copying, like leaving the pages where they are and then copying those functions in. So for example, this mic button is basically a button that I copied from audio, and you'll see that's this button here. So that is my microphone. If I turn that off, you won't be able to hear me. And so I just copied that button, pasted it in here, renamed it mic, just so that I know at a glance as I'm doing this pre-show setup, which runs a whole string of things that, is my mic on or off? Because when I have that pre-show and I'm just like getting ready, I don't want to have all of that stuff going on in the background. Yeah, cool. All right, I'm gonna wrap up in like just a couple of minutes, maybe in like 5 minutes. Where are we? So if you got any other questions, get that for me now, because we've got to get on with the day and do things and live our lives. Okay, so Eric says, or maybe this is just a chat within yourselves. That is a good question. I guess there might be a way to adapt a subset of the full collection of buttons into a page or two for a particular show. So that is my way of incorporating it, is sort of the switcher page, a custom page of things that you will always refer to a lot. And that's what it is for me. And then a show page, which is blank when you get it. And after a particular client, I will export that page and then just wipe it. And I'll start over with whatever I need for a new show. So that's the way that I'm doing that one. Cool. Kim was saying that clears it up for him. So excellent. That is all good. I think that's about it. I gotta jump onto a meeting. So it's a short one today, but always good to chat with you guys. I'm gonna be back next week, I guess. So if there's anything else that you have questions on and you're watching this after the show, you can pop them down in the comments, and that will help me create content of what you guys want to see in the next week's episode. Otherwise, I'm just sort of referring back to teaching you things on Companion, because that's sort of my field of depth with this live streaming stuff. But yeah, if you otherwise have a great week, and I will see you. I'll see you next time. All right, take care. Bye.